Hey everyone, and welcome back to Made Possible by Pop Culture, the podcast, season 3. I'm your host and producer, Danielle Terciano, and of course, I'm here to welcome you to the podcast that invites guests to share past and present influences in the world of, you guessed it, you know it, you love it, I'm sure it's why you're even here, pop culture. So you're going to know today's guest from her book, her self-titled sitcom, her many stand-up specials, and a whole lot more. In fact, she just dropped another new Netflix special, Upper Classy, today. Obviously, I want you to go watch that, but first, let's talk about it. Please welcome Cristela Alonzo to Made Possible by Pop Culture.
It's so funny. I just noticed the podcast is pop culture and I'm wearing a Young Frankenstein t-shirt.
I thought you might have done that on purpose. Okay, all right.
I wear a lot of pop culture stuff. I have a vintage t-shirt collection
Nice.
and I buy a lot of movies, TV shows that I grew up with.
So wait, is this vintage, true vintage, or is
True
it,
vintage.
okay, because
True vintage. Let me scroll down. See?
nice. Yes, yes. I'm the opposite. I do the like, who has reissued something, because it's hard
The
to
reissues
find.
are great though.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
great.
It's
But I
just
love it.
it's not I will say it's not as easy to find the other ones sometimes, which is why I go the route I go. But that's why I'm excited to have you on here because you've talked a lot in your specials and just in general about like loving this stuff and especially once you started getting money, being able to buy yourself the things that you didn't have. And I love that.
Yes, my aesthetic, like just the background. Like
Hmm.
I have like a 1960s Beatles record album holder. I have a Death Star disco ball on the other side.
Nice.
I love pop culture. I just think it's one of those things that to me made me who I am. It makes everybody who you are, like who
Yeah.
they are, you know? And
Yeah.
I describe my style at home as mid-century Pee-wee's Playhouse.
All right, I think that's good. I think that's like gives everybody a very clear
Yeah,
image.
it's like you walk in and you're like, is it West Elm? And is that Cherry from Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Right, which is I think a nice way to like upscale it. You know what I mean? Like you have
Yes,
nice pieces, but then you have some pieces that like childhood you is fulfilled
yes.
by as well. And I think that's what's so interesting about because like you're saying, it shaped you and like that's kind of the point honestly of why I started this podcast of like early on the idea was let's just talk about like why we're in our jobs. My first season was all entertainment journalists, and like we got into this job for our love of whatever, insert title, insert person. But I started to realize as I went, so much of our influences are so specific because of our place in life when we were younger, right? Like a lot of it is privilege. Like if you had access to something, or if you were like, I talk about this all the time. I grew up middle class, but my parents didn't want me exposed to a lot of like what they considered adult content. So I say this all the time in different episodes. People will pick an influence, and I'm like, well, I'm jealous of you because I didn't get to see that when I was a child. Um, so I guess what I'm saying in like a long-winded way is how you feel like your influences when you were younger were kind of shaped by what you had, but also by those around you because you had a big family and you had older siblings.
Yeah, well, it's like when you have an older sibling, since I'm the youngest of four, I was forced to like everything they liked, right? So like right now, a week and a half ago, I took my brothers to Vegas to see Toto, Christopher Cross, and Men at Work.
Nice.
Right.
But that's because that's what they wanted or that's what you wanted?
Well, because I love the bands because they loved it. So it's like through osmosis, you start
Mm.
getting into what they like, right? And it's that thing where because I was the youngest, my mom was working she was a cook at a Mexican restaurant. So my brothers and my sister would babysit me. So it was even more of like, well, this is what you like, right? So, it's like, oh yeah, I do, right? So I'm like this little kid that, one of my brothers plays guitar. So, he's like, you like Judas Priest. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, I like Judas Priest, right? So I remember there was a time where that same brother told me, you might not meet a lot of kids that like what you're into, but
Hmm.
let me tell you, when you're an adult, you're gonna be so cool.
Did that work? Was that true?
It did
Okay.
actually. I'll tell you, it really did because I actually think that the pop culture references really connect people
Yeah.
better than a lot of it's really kind of an equalizer for a lot of people because even if you're different economically or
Mhm.
come culturally from different cultures, a lot of us watch the same things growing up. We listen to the same things. And it's funny how entertainment uh, influences everything, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wild how people that create these entities, sometimes like when I think like I'm really into Star Wars, I was into
Mhm.
Star Wars when I was a kid, and I was like, sometimes I have these moments where I'm thinking, George Lucas, like coming up with the world, like Paul Rubens with Pee-wee, like Mel Brooks, I'm a big
Mhm.
fan of. And I'm like, how do you create these worlds that just grew into universes where people just, it's a way of life,
Right.
it's amazing.
At what point did you feel like, okay, I'm being influenced by what my siblings like and want me to be influenced by? Now I need to carve out. I need to specifically look for other interests that are just mine.
It was when I went into junior high. I remember that because it was this thing where when I was a kid, I was really into video games. My first system was the Atari 7800.
Nice.
I went to the Nintendo, and it was around the time right when Super Mario Brothers 3 came out. It was global, and it was like my thing. It was the first thing I bought
Mhm.
that was my thing that my brothers liked playing. So it was kind of weird. It was like, oh, the student has become the master. I realized it was one of those things where I realized, oh, I can like my own things.
Right.
What does that mean? And, for me, my mom was so strict. It was so weird. She was so strict with what I could watch and stuff, but she couldn't speak English. So she accidentally let me see a lot of things I shouldn't have been able to see because
Right.
she couldn't understand it, right? But it's like that thing where I grew up. I remember the other day I was listening to like an old Snoop Dogg Dre song that came out on like, whatever I was listening to. And I started singing the clean version of it
Oh, that's interesting.
because MTV used to play the clean version of it. So I grew up
Right. With
listening
a
to the clean version. It's the default that I had. I'm driving and my mind went to the clean version. And it's funny because like they said the actual words and I'm thinking, oh yeah, like
right.
this is how much it influenced me that when I was in junior high listening to that song, I go back to that now in my 40s.
Right.
And
Well,
that's
yeah.
how influential it is.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think those are the things that it's easier for you to memorize when you're younger. It's easier for you to like have this imprinted on you and like that. I think that's why we can remember, our childhood friends' phone numbers or song lyrics that we heard when we
Yes.
were kids, but I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. Like it's
Yes.
just, it's activating a different part of your brain. I think also like it brings you back to well, where you were, like what was the experience around the song at
Yeah.
the time. I do feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like you talked about that in a special about, um, the way that I don't want to put the words in your mouth, but the way that I heard it was like, oh, you were able to kind of sneak things past your mother
Yeah.
because she didn't necessarily know
Yes.
what was happening. I'm curious how far you went with that, I guess.
You know, it was really funny. Like the brother that got me into Judas Priest, he was really into heavy metal.
Hmm.
And it was around that time. Like, it's funny to see where we are now with social media and stuff. Because growing up, I remember when heavy metal was satanic. It's
Right.
like rap music was going to be the be all end all of society. And, so I say this because, like, with my brother, my mom knew that he loved heavy metal, and she knew that he wasn't a bad kid. So to her, it was like, well, it's what he likes, but
Right.
it's not affecting him like how the news make you think that they're, like, just because he likes Motley Crue doesn't mean he's doing a ritual to demons out,
Right.
and
Right.
it's
Like she could
so,
separate the yeah.
so, it's kind of funny. I think that because I was the youngest, my siblings taught my mother to trust
Mm.
me. And really growing up, I was a really good kid to my mom. So for me, it's like if she told me not to do anything, I wouldn't do it. I would see things, that, like, I remember, like Cinemax when they would do
Yeah.
like the B movie, like like sexy scenes and stuff and everything. I remember I asked my mom, I wanted to see Cinderella, and
Okay.
she let me see it, and it was an adult version
Oh
of
no.
Cinderella. And I remember it, like I saw it. It like growing up, we didn't have money, but we had cable.
That's what's
Cable.
interesting. And you seem to have had premium cable
Yeah,
as
yeah, 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 yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Because my mom, because cable was my babysitter. TV was my babysitter.
Oh, so
So
that's
like I
okay.
was like a
It was
latchkey
worth
kid.
it. It's worth the
Yeah, so it was
expense.
like an investment, right? It was
Yeah.
like it's weird. Premium cable was cheaper than babysitters, right?
I
So
don't
it
think
was
that's weird. People should cost more than, I mean, that to me makes sense.
so
Maybe it doesn't make sense to leave you just with the TV depending on how old you are, but I mean, different parenting styles. It would seem to work
no.
out fine.
It's like that thing where, like, at that time my mom was, single mom, and my brothers were getting older, so they had to go work to,
Right.
like, so it was this thing where, like, I was left at home, and I just remember, it was this thing where I saw it and I was like, oh no, never, never again. My eyes, my
That's what's really interesting about it because I do think like kids are smart and like you know something that parents might be afraid to show you, the kid will figure out for themselves. Oh, I don't actually want that. But it's by saying you can't have it, you can't see it, that makes it more interesting to them.
of
So like that was
course.
probably the best immersion therapy or whatever.
Oh, 100%. Look, I mean, my God, it's like I've said this before. It's like growing up, you would see commercials that were always about cereals, right?
Yeah.
Cereals, juices, everything. You never see commercials for vegetables, or like growing up, like it was
Yeah.
never. So you're taught that cereal, junk food, like these sodas and everything, that's cool, but the other things are not cool. So a lot of kids deflect and think, ew,
I didn't
if,
think about it
if,
that way.
if broccoli was cool, they would have commercial for broccoli, you
Huh.
know? So it's, again, a perfect example of how pop culture
Yeah.
influences you into what's cool or not.
Honestly, I never thought about that before, but it's funny that you say that because I was having an allergic reaction this morning and I thought it was to the carrots that I ate yesterday because I never eat vegetables. And I just was like, my body can't process it. And I don't mean to sound glib. I was like serious. I was like, I don't think my body can process this. And I think it stems from, yeah, go all the way back there. I never ate vegetables as a kid. I didn't like them.
Yeah.
Nobody like there was nobody advertising them to me, being like, you should have, I mean, my parents tried, but like you
Yeah.
should have them. That's I never really thought about that. But I feel like I don't know what that I feel like there has to be some sort of farmer commercial nowadays that maybe we're just missing, right? Somebody has to be trying to sell these products.
I, you know,
I don't want to make this a
are
different
they though?
podcast, but now that you've said that, I'm like, I'm gonna think about this very hard. Um, So you did pick an influence.
Yes.
I make everyone do that.
Yes.
The thing you picked has had so many different iterations of it that I would
Yes.
love for you to set up for everybody what it is, but also when it was your influence, the time period, the particular specific title, if there was one over the other, and where you were in your life at that time.
So I, what I picked is seriously one of my biggest loves of my entire life to this day. Like the way that I collect vintage shirts, I collect vintage memorabilia, and it's from the Muppets. And I picked the Muppets in general because it's a big umbrella that really encapsulates a lot of the things that I was influenced with. Now, growing up, I watched Sesame Street, but I also watched it in Spanish. So I watched Sesame Street and then I watched Plaza Sésamo.
Okay.
So it was like I was immersed in it, like all kids are. The first movie I ever went to see in a movie theater was Sesame Street's Follow That Bird.
Oh, I love
And
that one.
it I remember my sister took me. We're
Hmm.
growing up in this like little border town next to Mexico. We go to this theater. It was a Saturday afternoon. I remember, I want to say I was maybe 6, 7. It was the first time that I was seeing a movie that was for me. I
Mm.
wasn't seeing my family's choice, it was my choice. And I remember watching it and just being in love with it. And I remember there was a part in the movie where it's so sad because you can see that Big Bird really misses his friends. And I remember being a kid thinking, I feel so bad for Big Bird.
Mm.
And I left just completely just moved by it. And I couldn't understand it because I was a little kid.
Right, right.
And the second movie, which came out not too long after, the second movie I went to see at a movie theater was The Muppets Take Manhattan,
Mm.
which is my favorite movie of all time. And to me, it was the first time that I saw Broadway.
Mm.
And because the premise of the movie is that they graduate school and they want to go to New York to get on Broadway. And as a kid, I remember again, first time I saw it in the theater at the mall in my little hometown, and then HBO showed it. Because HBO like later on when
Right,
it went
right.
into cable, HBO used to, because we didn't have a lot of options back then, they
Yeah.
would get new movies and they would just play the hell out of them. So the month that Muppets Take Manhattan went to cable, I was like injected into my veins, right? And even then, again, the parts that really stood out to me from the Muppets Take Manhattan was there was a song called Saying Goodbye.
Hmm.
And the song is about them leaving New York to go work and raise money to try to get this show together. And the other one was Somebody's Getting Married, where Kermit and Piggy get married at the end. I mention all of these because they got such a big reaction out
Hmm.
of me, and I
Okay.
didn't know why. And throughout my life, I realized that the Muppets to me was actually so close to genuine human interactions
Hmm.
with the puppets, that you don't even think of them as puppets. But in general, the Muppets actually taught me so much about life because I remember when I was a kid and Mr. Hooper died on
Hmm.
Sesame Street, and I
Yep.
learned about death. I remember I remember when Jim Henson died. I was in junior high and it devastated me because it was the death of someone who brought me so much joy that I couldn't believe. After he passed away, that's when it hit me how big it was. Like how the Muppets just put me on this trajectory where you could be yourself. They
Hmm.
had big personalities, they all had distinctive personalities. And really, they were just about joy in such a great way. And I'm a big, big supporter of the Muppets, which is why I hate that they're not as relevant as they used to be,
Well,
as the Muppets.
I
You
want to
know,
go back though to something you said.
yeah,
I mean, when Jim Henson died and you
yes.
had that revelation, like did you think it would even continue at that point? Because without him, the
No,
brain behind this, like
no.
I mean, I hear what you're saying certainly about the relevance now is
Yeah,
different.
no,
You know, they
no.
pulled
I
Muppets
thought it was
3D
dead.
and Disney.
I thought it was dead because that's another thing is that, you know, when you're growing up, you don't realize how many people work
Yeah.
in in Hollywood to make everything happen. It's kind of like how, it's funny, even adults, if you don't know the business, people think
Yeah.
that the stars of shows are doing craft services, they're writing, they're doing, like they do it all, right?
Right,
And
right. And
you
they all are
realize,
millionaires, and why should we have had a strike? Yep.
yes, I'm very active in like current events and politics, and people say the Hollywood elite, and I'm like, let me tell you, there is no Hollywood. Like the Hollywood elite is like a small handful. The people that I know in the industry are a lot of people like me that had this dream and they're like, let's go try it. Like, because I love it so much. But when Jim Henson passed away, I thought it was the end because it was Jim Henson. And he was the only one that did anything with the Muppets, right? Like, like you had no
Well,
idea.
no, that's what I mean, because you were young,
Yeah.
but also like it's hard sometimes, I think, when it's certainly a lot of other people making it happen, but it's his vision and it's his company.
Yes.
You don't know if even if you do know how the business works, you don't know what's going to happen, who's going to get the company and what they're going to want to do with it. And the power and the money that dynamics that come into play and will they dilute the brand or would they rather keep it where it is and keep it from being ruined by just saying time capsule.
Yeah.
Nothing new, just time capsule everything. I also am curious if you had, because you talked about Sesame Street and you talked about Muppets Take Manhattan. Was there a character on either show that you felt, as you're looking at big personalities, like that you felt personally attached to, like seeing yourself in any way?
I actually it's funny, like in Sesame Street, it's so funny. I really like Bert and Ernie because they remind me of my brothers.
Okay.
So it's like really funny. Like my brothers are very Bert and Ernie, where one of them, the running joke is that my oldest brother always raises his hand asking for a high five from my other brother, and my brother has never given him a high five. And it's just they're in their 50s and 60s now. And it's just they'll hang out, we'll be hanging out, and my oldest brother is like, right, bro? And
Yeah.
like, the other one just leaves them hanging,
Well,
right?
yeah, and now at this stage in their lives, you can't acquiesce. You have to keep that going forever.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and let me tell you, it's funny now that we're all adults and now that they're in their 50s and 60s, I realize that it doesn't matter how old you get, the siblings always stay the same. We always make fun of each other in the same way that we did when we were kids. We say that it's weird that my oldest brother is retired and acts like makes the same jokes, same humor, same everything that he has always done, with each other, right? It's like it's so wild how that happens. But I also liked the relationship between Big Bird and Snuffleupagus
Mm.
because to me, it was that thing that you realized that Snuffleupagus and him, it was a relationship that not everybody, it wasn't for everybody, and there was a big moment in the show where everybody could finally see
Yeah.
Snuffleupagus, and it was mind-blowing. And to me, when I watched that, I actually took it as, oh, you can actually make anything that your imagination thinks into reality.
Hmm.
And if that's not what you have to do to make
Yeah.
any kind of living in Hollywood work, I mean, it that was it.
Yeah.
The Muppets, I really liked I like Waldorf and Statler, the two old guys. I just love them. It
Yeah.
was like this thing where I love that they're, in a weird way, I always thought of them as like kind of godlike. you know,
Oh, interesting.
because they're looking from their balcony
But they're
and they're
so judgmental.
exactly. But
And
it's like that thing where they're calling out everything that's happening and they're showing like it's funny because to me it kind of reminded me of my mom because my mom you would want her to get like be so happy like you could never guess her reaction
right,
because the things that she would be proud of you or that you thought she would be proud of she's like is this it like because it was so foreign to her
right.
but to me there I mean look aside from like Fozzie I love Fozzie stuff because he's the comic
Yeah,
right so it's like I think it's a variety of reasons for different reasons.
sure. Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny because I always, Waldorf and Statler were my favorites because I felt like I was that sit on the sidelines and judge people. So when you said godlike, I went, oh no, do I have some sort of complex I never I was like, but I never saw it quite that way, I guess. I was looking at it more as like a, curmudgeonly person, just like
Yeah.
not super into what their friends are doing, which honestly was me as a child because I never wanted to hang out with people my own age.
To me, and I think that it's really apparent in like my comedy. Like having moments, I love having like moments that create emotions that you don't expect in comedy.
Hmm.
And Waldorf and Statler being so judgmental, they're the curmudgeons of this place of joy. And to me, it was just so accurate for life that I love seeing movies, I love seeing TV shows, uh, you know, I love seeing a sitcom that doesn't have to be funny all the time
Hmm. Yeah.
because it's a situation comedy, which means that the situation
Yeah.
varies. You can't just have people laughing and having a great time all the time. That's that's the reason why in 2025 we still highly regard the Norman Lear shows from the 70s.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have a full sample of life and everything so that people can really understand. It's like in the curmudgeon moments, they're funny, but they also make you look forward to the positive moments to see
Mhm.
how they trivialize and bastardize it, which is great.
Right, right. So once you're kind of like all in, I guess you would say, or I would say, with this brand. I mean, you mentioned that you collect memorabilia. I imagine then you were like, I need to go see all of these movies when they're coming out.
Yes.
What is that evolution of your fandom in terms of, because you're getting older
Yeah.
as these movies are continuing. So in a certain way, I would imagine you're kind of aging out of some of them. Did you get to a point where like you weren't as interested in watching, but you still wanted to maybe collect some of the stuff because it
Yes.
meant to you more that way?
I think that like just like with a lot of pop culture stuff, it's like, look, I mentioned earlier that I love Star Wars, right?
Right.
You get to the point where like with that franchise, being a fan of that is like having a full-time job, right? Like it used to be like,
Yeah, but I don't know that you age out of it the way that like, because I imagine when like Muppet Babies rolled around, you were probably like, I don't want to watch a
oh
cartoon.
no, I loved it.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, fair enough.
Look, give to me the Muppet Babies were like a prequel. I'm like, let's see these
Well,
kids in their
yes, but I
right.
just meant like
No,
mathematically,
no.
the year that it came out was so much later, and I'm not doing the math on how old you
No.
are.
No, because like to me, at that moment, I appreciate I appreciate all of the
Hmm.
aspects of this world, right? But I will say I did stop. I stopped following like the Muppets. The Muppets had like an ABC show.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I didn't care for it. A lot of the later movies didn't, they were missing that thing.
Hmm.
And I say this all the time. I think that what is missing sometimes is a nod to the history of how we got here. And it's like there is a missing element of the heart and simplicity that
Yeah.
existed in the earlier years. It's kind of like when I see a movie and I think, wow, this the CGI is working too hard,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like sometimes you do want to see a person with a sock on their hand. You know what I mean? It's
I
like
mean, I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but I do know what you mean, where it's like when it's too obvious that a computer did something and it just doesn't look right. Like there's just something to it. Like, or now I talk about like all the AI photos all the time. I think it's so obvious, but people are fooled.
oh, people are so fooled that it's insane. I think that to me, in general, the Muppets, puppets, puppetry,
Mhm.
there's so many genres within the entertainment industry that I think really go unnoticed, undervalued. I think that even now, I think the truth is, I love puppets. I mean, there is an aquarium in Long Beach that has an Instagram page. I'm obsessed. They have puppets that are supposed to be creatures from the aquarium.
Oh,
There is this puppet named Elsie Otter. And every time she does a video, I'm like, I'm in, Elsie. Let's do this. There is the LA Public Library does a little raccoon puppet
oh, that,
that
yeah, I've seen that one.
spoke, right? And I love him, but like to me, it's like the art form.
Yeah,
It's incredible what people can do that are so talented that you forget, like sometimes you forget that they're there, that it's
right,
them,
right.
and I think that to me, once we have technology available and we can manipulate it and we can step away from the true essence of it,
Mhm.
there's something lacking. It's always in comedy, it's about heart. Everything is about heart, but
Right.
comedy is about heart, and you have to make people feel things. And to me, there is a sterile feeling that exists, not just in the Muppets, but in everything nowadays. It's like the thing that made you love it
Hmm.
a lot of times is removed. And people, in a weird way, I feel like the gatekeepers and decision makers actually don't even think about the need of
Mhm.
adding that heart and the essence of the old, because to them they think, well, it's in the old stuff. If they
Right.
want if they want to find that, go look at the old stuff
Yeah,
and
but
then
here's
catch
the thing,
up.
you can't always go look at the old stuff. A lot of it's
Exactly.
not available. So I was actually on that train with you. Like, yeah, I think that is a lot of their attitude, but then it's like they're the ones that are also then removing the old stuff
That's the thing.
from
I was
view.
going to
And
say the
so it's
same
like,
thing.
what are we doing then? You know, like we're not, I mean, and the thing is, I do think it can be, I do think with Muppets, like I think heart and essence are a good way to put it. I do think with some of the other things that we're seeing now that are maybe being remade, things that we love from our childhood, I think there might be other things at play that they're removing. And some of it is like the sensibility, you know, the way that we were able to do subversive humor is not really the same today because people are afraid or
Yes.
people are more, you know, standards and practices are more involved when it's aimed at a certain age group. And so there's more limitations or rules or whatever. And so I think there's like a lot of things happening. But I think at the end of the day, my friends who have kids, what I thought was going to happen was I thought they weren't going to want to watch the old stuff because they were going to be like, that looks bad.
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily the experience that I'm seeing with a lot of them. Like if their parents are lucky enough to have something on DVD or even VHS, because I have friends that have saved their VHS
Yes.
tapes and their VCRs for the reason that things go away. I pull out every Christmas a Muppet Family Christmas. And it was something that like I don't have the one they sold because when they sold it, they pulled out some of the music, I think for rights reasons. So
Yes.
I had had an old VHS that we had taped off PBS that when I was in college I dubbed to a DVD and that I later
Yes.
ripped onto a digital file. And so like I'm forcing that on everyone's child. And like you can tell it's puppets, but that's the point. Like to
Yes.
your point about like the artistry and like whether you forget that there's a person there or not, like the point is that these are not supposed to be human. If you see a string, it's okay.
Yes.
That's not a mistake. That's part of the artistry. But I do think a lot of the CGI is like, well, we're going to remove that because it looks like a mistake. It looks like you shouldn't know that it's there, like the man behind the curtain. And I'm like, I don't know that I agree with that. Like, I don't want to believe Kermit's just walking around in the world.
Yes,
That looks weird to me.
absolutely. Look, there what was it? There's so many movies that I see. I remember years ago, I can't even remember. It was maybe, I think it was called like On the Block or something. It's
Hmm.
British. And there's entities from outer space that land in this neighborhood. And the the monsters, the creatures were actually people. Like there's a vignette like that came with the movie that they were like, we didn't want to do CGI. We wanted to use like how movies used to do it. And they show people wearing and I thought it was just so great because when I watched the movie, I didn't think that's people. Like, you're just so invested in the story, right? It's like it's insane how, there is this weird it's weird how the time that we live in, as we progress, it's crazy how, and they've always existed, but there's the people that want to call out everything, right? You go see a magician, he's not flying. Yeah, we know he's not
Well,
flying.
I
Like,
don't like magic, so I am that person for
you know, but
magicians.
it is that thing. It's like, but you wouldn't go see magic, right? Like,
Exactly.
it's like you have these people that go and they want to call it out. Like, yeah, we all know, but like suspend disbelief. The problem is that no one wants to suspend disbelief anymore. There's a lot of people that don't, it's like they want to find it's like conspiracy theories for everything. It's like, oh, well, why would the pig date the frog? Because they're puppets.
Yep. Hmm.
Because they're puppets. That's just how it works. They're, look, like, I don't know what Gonzo is, but I think he's dating this chicken, and that's
Right.
okay.
Right. And I think that maybe people are taking that a little too literally. Like,
It's like,
fine.
look, do you like it or not? So it is this weird thing where you there is a part where I want to suspend disbelief
Hmm.
because life sucks sometimes. And when life sucks, I want to see the Muppets doing a whole production number about, Miss Piggy and Kermit getting married, which by the way, Muppets Take Manhattan in that church scene, it's like one of the only times that all of the Muppets
Yeah.
from they're all together. Like,
Yeah. That's why I also like the Christmas movie I talked about because that's
yes.
they bring them all together and it's like a crazy they're both movies crazy shot of just like how many there really are and like more than you probably realize when you count like all the Fraggles and stuff.
No, I was just about to mention Fraggles. I'm like the fact that we have so many little worlds underneath this, like completely different identities, worlds, everything. It's amazing. For Christmas, I like watching Emmett Otter's Jug Band. It's from Henson. It's Jim
Okay.
Henson. I want to say it was like 1978 or something. It's one of those things, not available. It was so hard to find. They don't play it, nothing. I ended up finding a DVD of it
Hmm.
at a truck stop. Like I was on the road and I every time that I was on the road, I would stop at these truck stops because they were big and I felt safe there. I would always go to like the Flying J, the Loves, everything. And this is back when, we didn't have the streamers like we did,
Hmm.
now. So I would stop, put gas in the car, and I would just look through the bins because they were always like $5. And I'm like, well, you never know what you could find
Yeah.
in the $5 bins. I saw it and it was like you almost saw me crying at this like truck stop for no reason. The way that you react when you find something
Hmm.
that you've been looking for, when it comes especially to a TV show, a movie, anything, it's almost like your body reacts to it because your body knows that your mind
Yes.
has been looking for it for ever.
But that's such a rare experience because now you mentioned streamers. Like I feel like most of the time, if I do this. If I'm searching, I'm just like eBay, and then I'm typing in what I'm looking for.
Yes.
It's not the same feeling
No,
when
no,
you're
no, it's
streaming.
not. Look, I do that same thing. Let me look, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this story about the Muppets and me. So last year, I found out a follower on Instagram tagged me and said that one of my jokes was at the Smithsonian,
Hmm.
right? So I replied to her and I asked her what she was showing me because she showed me a video and it was from my half hour on Comedy Central.
Hmm.
And she's like, "You're in an exhibit." And I had no idea that one of my jokes was in an exhibit. So I look it up and it's this exhibit that's at the Smithsonian for 20 years. So it's considered like a permanent exhibit. But it's about how comedy can be used to talk about current events,
Hmm.
political movements, where we are in the times. And I had no idea. And I just posted like, "You guys, I'm at the Smithsonian." I had no clue. So I'm going to DC because I'm going to do something at the White House. And
This was
I
last
just
year.
yeah, no,
Right.
yes. Yeah, well, yeah.
Sounds like timing.
Let me tell you, it's at that point I was invited to the White House. So I'm gonna be in DC and I decided to go. And the curator for the exhibit saw and said like saw that I was going online because I tagged them
Hmm.
and they were like, "I would love to give you a tour of the exhibit." I'm like, "Yes." So I go and it's the entertainment floor of the Smithsonian and they take me straight to it. I see it and they're telling me like, "Oh, your bit is actually like the cornerstone of all of this." And I was like, "Whoa, this is
Wow.
impressive. Like, oh, this is amazing." And they start giving me a tour of the entire floor. And right at the entrance, I totally missed it. They have Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog. Like there. Danielle, let me tell you, I could have cared less that I was there. I could have cared less that I was in an exhibit.
Right.
I lost it and I was like, no way. Miss Piggy and Kermit are here. And I start telling the curator, I love the Muppets. Like, I love the Muppets. And I took a picture.
I was gonna say suddenly they're calling security, be like, make sure she doesn't leave with the
Like
Muppets. Like,
ridiculous. And like the curator's like, "Really? You like the Muppets?" I'm like, "I love the Muppets. Like everyone that knows me knows I love the Muppets." And she was like, "Come with me." We go to the back to the archives.
oh,
And she opens up the archives and I mean, I have pictures of like some of the cool stuff that I saw. They have a little cabinet that's Jim Henson's cabinet.
oh,
And they have the first puppets he ever made. And he had like they had him there, they donated it like and they switch out
hmm.
the Jim Henson stuff occasionally. And they were like, this is the Jim Henson collection. And it was just like I I was so emotional because even though you know it's real,
Hmm.
and I think it comes with everything, anything that you love. When you see it in person and you actually understand that a person made this and you see the simplicity because they're so simple and you see the evolution because I just saw Miss Piggy and Kermit
Hmm.
and you see how the Miss Piggy character is so done up and glam and everything and you see where it started and you see how having this dream of something so small could grow into something like that. And not only that, but like the fact that everything I've done in my life, again, at that moment, I didn't care that I was at the Smithsonian. I was so happy that I saw Miss Piggy and Kermit. Game over. It was like that. That was the reason I went to the Smithsonian. It wasn't
Right.
about me seeing myself there. It was Miss Piggy and Kermit. It was just it. It was insane. Uh, and that's when I realized how important they were to me. And sometimes you don't realize how important things
Mhm.
are to you,
Yeah.
until you see it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was so weird to see these little simple puppets. I realized how it was all made from a person.
Yeah.
And sometimes you forget. And sometimes it's a really great reminder how something can grow out of what seems to be nothing. And
Right.
that was just like, it was one of the coolest, one of the coolest stories. I have video from it, everything. I mean, it was like game over. I
Yeah.
love
But at the same time, I mean, you should care that you're in the Smithsonian because A, that's what got you to even realize that so is Miss Piggy and Kermit. But B, like, that's gonna be some kid someday seeing you, like going there and being like, oh, this joke really meant something to me and it's in the
it.
Smithsonian. Or like you mentioned, the reason it was there because it's looking at it's a comedy exhibit, but it's also looking at like place and culture and time and importance. And one of the things I do want to, talk about with you is how you feel your current special upper classy fits in that world because correct me if I'm wrong, but when you go lower classy, middle classy, upper classy, it feels to me like that is the third in a trilogy. Like maybe this is a theme that you're closing and that
Yeah.
you're going to start a new chapter with the next batch of specials. So I'm curious, like, if that is actually in your mind when you're writing it, what then you felt like this needed to address, not just in your life, but in where we are in life in general.
What's funny is that I actually, when I got the first special and I named it Lower Classy, when I decided that was going to be the title, I I I thought of it as a trilogy because I love Back to the Future.
Okay.
And to me, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could do a trilogy? To me, three is perfect. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if you could do a trilogy of of an evolution of your life? Because that's one thing that in stand-up, it's I think it's something that happens, but we never call it out. It's like
Mm.
every special is a comic where they're at now,
Right.
but they don't talk about this is where I'm at now, right? So it's like, so it's like, what is the deal with me being here, right? So
Because it's also like it's hard because you filmed it before, like months before it's going to come out. So like, who knows if you are still there when it comes
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that, like, it's like I tell people all the time, like with stand-up, when you're shooting a special, all the special is a snapshot of where you are that night. So for me, it was like, okay, well, the first special was about the history of me. And then the second one was, well, where am I?
out.
Where am I now? It's
Right.
the follow-up album, right? It's like, where am I now? And I started, but it was actually so helpful knowing that that was the approach because I knew what to write. I
Yeah.
knew thematically, like, well, okay, so take stock. Where are you now?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, I go to the doctor now, right? I have health insurance now. That's kind of funny. Like that I don't, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
my 40s and I don't know how health insurance works. And then with this one, I started thinking, well, to me, the middle classy one, the second one was kind of like my version of status because I
Mhm.
had come so far from where I started,
Yeah.
that I thought middle classy was my version of upper classy. I actually thought about, well, what if I just make it upper classy? And then I thought, no, I don't think I'm done.
Yeah.
Even years ago, I'm like, I don't know where I'm going, but I don't think I'm done yet.
Yeah,
It's
you don't want to
really
set that
processing.
bar and then like, oops, now I'm going down.
Yeah,
Whoops, what did I do to
yeah.
myself? I made a mistake.
Yeah, so when I started writing this third one, it really started, I started thinking, well, what am I doing now? What do I do now? And again, because I knew it was upper classy and I knew it would be the last one, that I was like, how do we finish this off? How do we finish off this with a banger? Right. And I started thinking about what are the coolest things I've been able to do? And one of them was taking my family on vacation, which happened 9 years ago. But it's in stand up.
First one happened 9 years ago, but
The
you've done,
first one, the first vacation happened.
right, but
No,
you talk about a few here to the point where I'm like,
yeah,
you
no,
are
because
the
but it
nicest
started in
sibling ever.
2016, and then when after I started traveling starting 2016.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
But
but
you
the
did,
thing
what I want
is,
to make clear for the audience is that you didn't take them on one vacation. You are the nicest sibling ever and have taken them on multiple, and you talk about
yes,
special, but like that to me, even the idea of taking a whole family on one vacation is like, no, thank you. But then, like, to continue to do it, I was like,
yes,
wow, I'm
yes.
glad you did it because it makes for such an interesting special.
It does. And actually, when I took them on vacation and I realized how foreign it was for them to not do anything, I was like, oh, I need to teach them not to be so awkward. Like and they're getting there. I mean, it's funny. It's like now they're a little bit more casual with things, but it took many trips. That's why I was constantly taking my family on vacation. My brothers, one's a retired teacher, the other one still teaches, so our trips have to go around his school schedule.
Mm,
So and it's random because sometimes I'll do a tour and then I'm done, and then I always feel like I have to go play mom to my family,
right.
where I'm like, well, now we're going to da da da, and everybody pack your bags and blah blah blah. But it was this thing where the first vacation started in 2016, but I was only really ready to talk about it now.
Mhm.
And that's the thing about a lot of writing, especially when it comes to comedy. It can happen to you at that moment, but you might not be ready to talk about it
Yeah.
at that moment. So you got to let it simmer. And once I started writing the upper classy thought, I thought, well, that's actually, let's tackle that because that's a big thing that happened politically in the past 10 years. I've also been having to work overtime trying to get my community
Mhm.
uh, to vote, to know that their voices are heard, that they have voices, that they matter. And it's exhausting because that work is never done. So I come in with this level of status that I thought was ridiculous now that I get to take my family on vacation, but also, why are we here?
Mhm.
Just in general, why are we here? And in the special, I decided that it's funny, people always talk about the privilege that they have. And a lot of times when people talked about it growing up, growing up, I mean in the past 10, 15 years, because we have really overused privilege a lot in the past, 10,
Yeah,
15
but
years.
I feel like we overcorrected because we needed to,
But
because
we
we
do. No,
refused to
but that's what I
acknowledge
mean.
it
No,
so long.
but we do. But the thing is that when people mention privilege,
Hmm.
I never understood, it's like being first generation Mexican American, growing up squatting in an
Right.
abandoned diner. It's like, when do I have privilege? You know what I mean? So to me, I realized with this special that it was the first time that I was very well aware of the privilege that I had, which is Netflix allowed me an hour
Yeah.
to be the only person on stage. And that is a privilege. And if I don't use my privilege to be vocal about what I think and
Hmm.
how I feel, then why am I doing any of this? And it's funny because you mentioned it a little earlier in regards to what we were talking about how like some people are scared to talk about things. And I get it. I know people that are scared out of sheer economics. They don't want to lose their fans.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose the money. They don't, and to me, it's like, I don't want those people as my fans. I don't want them. I don't need them in my life.
Right.
You know, my mom used to always say like, it's like leave. You'll be replaced by somebody else. And to me, it was like, I don't want to live a life where I feel like I have to placate and try to make everybody happy, especially people that I have to work so hard for to have them like me.
Right.
It's exhausting. It's like when you lie and you have to keep track of your lie, and it's like, well, you know what's easier? Not lying. So for me, it was like the my birthday is January 6th. So
Yep.
I already don't like my birthday has been sullied, right? Okay. I shot my special on June 14th, which was No King's Day.
Oh, wow.
So it was this thing where I was like, okay, I don't know who else is going to be doing a special that talks about this. And if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. So at the end of the special, I decided to take a moment to tell people, to remind people, this is the time when we have to choose what kind of people we're going to be. And I do believe that so many of us need to be told that.
Mm,
It's almost like if you don't say it, some people don't think it.
mm,
So if you tell people this is the time
yeah.
that we have to be vocal and use our voice, even if it's one person that thinks, wow, she's right. That's one person I didn't have before.
Right.
And, the time that we live in right now, everybody wants big change, a complete 180 overnight. Doesn't work that way. It's like the the time that it took for you to gain the weight, that's how long it'll take you to lose the weight. It's like
Sure.
you can't explain that you can't expect change.
No,
That
I mean, but things have been happening faster than I thought that they would, and I will say that. So I'm like, I'm hoping that we can dismantle it just as fast, if not.
yeah, I don't think we will.
No, I don't either. I'm not a very hopeful person. Anyone
No, I
who listens to
but
this knows that.
I think that like the first thing we have to tell people is tell them it's going to take a while.
Right.
Right? So, but if you tell people that it's going to take a while, what you're doing is telling them it is possible though. So
True.
stick with me.
That's true.
Stick with me. So for me, it's like it's about telling people this is the time that you choose. And I have decided to tell you what I think, who I am. And if you're ready to be with me, then come with me. And if it's not your thing, then you can leave. But I can't.
Right.
I can't. This is not the time to be silent.
Right.
You know, it, it,
Do you end the special with with that very
yes.
specific, powerful message? You also started the special with a more subtle joke about it that I
Mhm.
loved.
Yeah.
Was the impetus of ending it that way to say like it's the last thing I'm saying, so it's the thing you're going to remember, but also maybe this is the first thing I'll say and continue to say in the next batch? Like, are you leaning more towards more overt political specials in the future?
I don't know. It's like it's funny. It's like again, it's like what I was saying about the special. It's like when a comic shoots it, it's like it's a snapshot of where we are
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But honestly, it's like it's funny. The the political stuff has evolved throughout my specials.
Mhm,
The first one had mentioned him. The second one, I kind of strayed away from it, and that was actually more for my own mental health
mhm,
because between the first and the second one there was like 7 years, I think 6 years between them. After when I shot the first one, I shot it in August of 2016. I didn't think he was gonna win, and when he did, I was so taken aback.
mm, yeah.
I couldn't I stopped doing stand up for a couple years because I couldn't mentally do it. I struggle with anxiety and depression, and that just took me on an express lane to
Yeah.
that.
But it's
And
also, I think, like you said a second ago, like you need some time to process. You can't
yes,
write about it always in the moment and have it be, I'm going to put this in my words, but like have it be what you want it to be if it's in the moment.
yeah, absolutely. And it's weird. I think that to me, I don't know where I'm going to go next. I think I have to see where the country goes next. But I will say that as I've gotten older, I realized that I'm just not scared of anything regarding that. I don't question, oh, are they going to like me? Oh, am I doing the right thing? There's no time for that,
Yeah,
and there's something about that like for me is so liberating, where it's like you might not like me, but you can't deny my past and you can't deny who I am,
right.
So let me tell you who I am. And I think a lot of times, again, we talk about pop culture and stuff. It's like it is, it is an equalizer.
Hmm.
It is anything entertainment can really connect people. And if I can do that with my stand up, then let's do it.
Yeah. I do have to ask how your Fitbit's doing.
What?
Okay. For anyone who's listening, she did show me she's still wearing it because I found it. There's a bit, and for anyone who hasn't seen the special yet, there is
Yeah.
a part. I mean, bit as in part, not as in like sketch, but there is a part where you're talking about getting the Fitbit to get healthy, and I loved it because I had like a knockoff Fitbit for a little while when I was working with another company, and they would put everybody in like a challenge, like who could get the most steps
Oh,
were in a challenge. So I would, when on my drive home, I had about a 45-minute drive home because it's Los Angeles, and I would hold it in my right hand and I would shake my hand the whole way home to fake the steps. Whole 45 minutes every day. It looked like I was the healthiest person in the world. So I was like, I gotta ask how you're doing.
well, here's the thing though, is that I'm actually wearing it, but I stopped wearing it for a while. I just started. But it's like, but honestly, I think I do the same thing where now when I wear it, man, I love to clap.
No, because that's the thing that they don't really tell you. Like, depending on where on your body you put it, it's very easy to cheat. I've
Yeah,
seen videos where people put it on their dog.
I
I
was
did
gonna
that
say
once.
that. I was like, Danielle,
Oh
you should put it
no.
on your dog.
My current dog, yes. The dog I had back then, I did that for a day and he got like 50 steps because he was a lazy, he was more like a cat. And I loved him and I understood him. We were the same.
Uh,
But I think it's easier if you just know where to put it on yourself because you're moving naturally, like you're talking with your hands or yeah, you're clapping. Like there's
but no, it's going well. Honestly, you know what I discovered? What I forget is that after I shoot a special, I kind of disassociate from society for a while because it's like you're coming down. I've been touring the special for years. I
Mhm.
was writing it for years. And once it's done, you realize that you're like, well, now what?
Right.
Like, now what do you do? Right. So I I go to Pilates and I just after the special I decided to just take a break from Pilates, right?
Okay.
I'm like, you know what, girl?
I
Just
thought you were going to say that was the answer. That's what you did.
oh
Because
no, 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 no,
that's
no. I totally no,
such
no,
a
no, no, no.
healthy
No,
answer.
no, no. Oh God, no. No, but it really was this thing where it's so funny how when you stop being active for a couple days, you go into like it is just it snowballs into like let's just not do anything. And I started Pilates back up. I took like a month off. And I do it like 4 times a week. And I stopped for over a month. I went to class like a week ago and I just decided to jump into my advanced Pilates class. I'm like, look, girl, you've been doing it forever. And the next day I was in so much pain. It was, I was in so much pain that I had to cancel all the other classes I had signed up for. It took me about a week for me to get over it. And I just started it again. And I live in Santa Monica
Mhm.
and I just moved here about a year ago. And I moved because I like being outside.
Right. I was gonna
In
say you can
theory,
just go outside and walk on the path,
yes.
on the beach path.
Like in theory, I like to be outside.
Hmm.
It's getting outside that's hard. It's actually like
Hmm.
making the decision. I'm so happy once I'm out, but leaving, especially, I sweat a lot and I hate the summer. Like
Oh,
people love the summer.
yeah,
I sweat. Like I just I think hard about something and I'm drenched. Like it is just so for me, it was
I
I
get
go to
that.
Pilates, like I'll go to Pilates. I'll go at like 10 in the morning. It's already hot because a lot of women in my class get cold.
Oh, you mean it's hot in the room?
Yes.
Oh, no.
So it's like they're cold.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we gotta
yeah.
go. It's a democracy. It's a Pilates democracy, right? So it's like if most of them are cold,
Sure.
we can't have the AC, right? And I'm just like, you
But the whole
guys,
point is when you're moving, you won't be cold anymore.
yes. Yeah. So it's kind of like so okay, well, I try to find ways to be physical. Last 2 days though, I hit my 10,000.
Well,
So
that's good.
we're baby steps.
Great. No, that's great. I can't remember the last time I did that. Probably when I went to Disneyland because you just inherently walking back and forth will do a lot of steps.
You
I do
know,
have one more burning question for
yeah.
you from the special after having seen it. What time did you land on is the right time that's early enough for you to go to bed without it being weird? I'm asking because I go to bed super early and I'm wondering if I'm weird.
No, I would say my perfect time about 7:30.
Wow, that's really early.
Yes. But I tell
Okay.
you, it's
What
because
time do you eat dinner if you go to bed at
oh,
7:30?
I'm an old person. I eat it at like 5.
Okay,
Like,
because you can't eat at 7, like you'll get sick. Okay.
no. But like 7:30 is that's a luxury for me. 7:30 is like when things are done for the day, when I know that I'm done and I can get in and actually allow myself to fall asleep naturally. Because normally like I take a sleeping pill.
Hmm.
And I do it because my anxiety, like when I had my show, people used to always say that they could email me 24 hours a day and I would always reply to them.
Yeah, that's not
Like my
good.
sleep sucked, and I didn't realize that my sleep sucked. But like, so when you have to get ready for bed, it's kind of like a chore. People don't realize it's like we value sleep, but we don't take care of ourselves and we don't treat it as such an important thing. A
Hmm.
lot of people, my therapist, I like to brag that I have one.
Hmm.
She always talks about how it's so important to treat your days like it's a store hour. So it's like you open and end it at the day, especially if you're freelancing. If you're doing anything where you don't necessarily go into an office every day,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
have to decide when your day ends.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it never ends.
Yeah.
So every day has to have a beginning and end. And once you decide that that's the end of the day, then you can take care of your sleep, because if not, what happens is every day runs together as one.
Yeah.
So, it's like so you need to have I treat my days like a bookend. You start,
Right.
you end here. So
That's my question then, because if you're going to bed at 7:30, what time are you waking up? I feel like that you'd wake up way too early for me. I could
no,
never.
well, see, this is no, because see, the thing is, and this is what I'm working on currently. I go to bed early, but do I go to sleep early?
Oh, I see. It takes you a
So,
minute to fall asleep because I will fall asleep like that.
oh my God, I'm so
Without
jealous of
even
you.
without even trying, like I fell asleep yesterday on the couch reading a book, like in the middle of the day. So I was like, that's a problem. It was hot in here, so that was maybe part of it. There was a week in LA. Well, there were a lot of weeks, but there was a specific week in LA where it was really hot, and I would
Yes.
be falling asleep watching TV on my couch, never waking up until morning. So not making it upstairs to go to sleep in a bed like a human being. I was sleeping on my couch
Oh,
like a college kid for a week because I was just able to, I would just fall asleep and then sleep through the night. Like, no, I don't know. That
you
is the
know,
one thing in my life that is healthy is my sleep ability.
I'm jealous. My friend, my best friend, he sleeps on the couch a lot. He falls asleep on the couch a lot. But he likes to stay up late. It's almost like
Mm.
he exhausts himself and he just passes out on
Oh
the couch.
yeah.
but I call that couchelepsy. It's like not the
Yeah,
word,
it's
but the
different.
couch,
I
right?
can't say that I'm exhausting myself. Wasn't
No,
doing anything
you're
yesterday.
good. I'm jealous of you because honestly,
I mean,
that
honestly, when I say it's healthy, it probably isn't. It probably is some undiagnosed disorder. I'm just like, I can always sleep. I never have problems.
no,
I
that's
don't toss,
great.
I don't turn. Like
That's
maybe I'm
amazing.
dying and then waking up like you know what I mean? Maybe it's like
Or
sleep apnea where you die while you sleep and then you're just lucky enough to wake up.
maybe you have a gift. Maybe it's a gift that you haven't even capitalized on it. What like look, there's social media accounts for everything. You're the
Yeah, yeah,
sleep,
yeah. Sleep.
you're the sleep guru.
I
Like
should
you're the
get paid
person
to
that
sleep. That would be amazing.
how do you do it? But to me, it's like now that the time change is coming, 7:30 is like my time,
Mm-hmm.
that time change coming because it gets so dark so early that I'm like, you know what, we've put in a day.
Yeah.
Um, I will say I just talked to my psychiatrist. I have a whole army now. But like we were talking about how for people that can't sleep, what you have to do is stop, and I know it's hard for a lot of people, me included. You have to stop scrolling on your phone and you actually have to treat your bed as the place to sleep in.
Yep.
Once you can change that, because once you stop scrolling and you treat your bed like your sleep place, then you can go to sleep. And maybe one day, Danielle, I can be like you. Maybe one day.
Listen, I don't want to make you feel bad, but I don't do any of that.
I know.
So
No, I know. That's what I mean.
that's
It
what's
doesn't sound,
crazy
I
is
didn't think you did.
I fall asleep with the laptop on me watching a movie. Like I don't know. I think we've given a lot of people a lot to think about. I did not mean to take up all of this time from
No,
you.
no, this is important stuff. This is important
Well,
stuff.
I think so. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, no, absolutely. I had a blast.
Before you head over to Netflix to watch Cristela's latest special, Upper Classy, or maybe even check out her previous ones, Lower Classy and Middle Classy, as we discussed today, I do want to tell you where to find the other things that we discussed today. So, starting with Follow That Bird. You can rent it on places like Amazon or Apple TV, but if you want to stream it for free, you can find it on Plex. Now, Plex is not an app that I've talked about before, and so if you don't know what it is, well, sure, you can stream select titles there for free. You can rent even more titles there. But you can also use it to build watch lists, to rate and review titles, have a lot of fun with it. Then there was The Muppets Take Manhattan. That is not available to stream anywhere currently, but you can rent it on places like Amazon or Apple TV. So, once again, this has been made possible by Pop Culture the Podcast Season 3. I'm your host and producer, Danielle Terciano. I hope you like, comment, subscribe, follow on social media, generally, genuinely like this episode, and stick around because we have more guests coming at you very soon.